Welcome to Sweet Tea Ethics, the show pouring life lessons and conversations with creatives, artists, and cultural producers about the ways harmonious living and balanced well-being have shaped it. I'm your host, Dr. Ed Garnes. Make sure you subscribe to the show, join our mailing list, and visit sweetteaethics.com. All right, so how are y'all doing? I got my sweet tea. This is Dr. Ed Garnes. Welcome to Sweet Tea Ethics, where we pour conversations about life, good times. We talk to creatives, artists, madmen, revolutionaries, people addicted to freedom. All right, that's what we do here at Sweet Tea Ethics. So you all have been asking for me to tell my story. Even little E is like, okay, it's time for you to spread your joy. So I'm used to being on the opposite end of the equation, but you know, Sweet Tea Ethics is coming to you. It's a show. It's my life. It's my life's calling. It's the heartbeat. It's the work that I have done with From Afros to Shell Toes for half of my life. Okay, we're going on like 25 some years, right? So I have a guest that I want to introduce. We may really be cousins because on side of his family, we got some matching last names, right? Yes. So this is a play cousin that could be a real cousin. So I want y'all to welcome to Sweet Tea Ethics my brother Johnnie Ray Kornegay III, also known by his government J. Ray. Okay, yeah. So if you ever heard me say J. Ray, that's the same person. Now, J. Ray is the Deputy Director of Strategy and Impact for the Counter Narrative Project, also known as CNP. I mean, the brother is an artist. He's a photographer. He has talked about Marlon Riggs in Sweden. He's down with activism, HIV and impact and studying brothers, okay? And the work of CNP uplifts our brothers who color outside of the lines of heteronormativity. Go look it up for all you educators, all right? He's also a 2024 Air Media New Voices AMPLIFY Fellow. Yes. And last, but certainly not least, this brother has, I don't know what the Grammy is for a podcast, but he got nominated, okay? For the Grammy for podcast with him and DJ Sir Daniel for Q Points, one of the first podcasts when I came back to Atlanta and got my doctorate. Was Q Points. They always show love. So let's welcome him to the Sweet Tea Ethics space, and we're gonna explore why is crazy Dr. Ed finally gonna do his thing.
Oh man, Ed, thank you so much for having me on Sweet Tea Ethics. Yeah. I am so grateful to be here. So, just to also let people know, so you, Dr. Ed Garnes, has been so important to me personally.
I'm not ready to cry.
Man, like just
I ain't ready. I'm too early. It's too early to cry.
Just your commitment to Black people being healthy and whole, in our fullness and being who we are. Like, you have been a person who is just like, what do we need to do to get you to where you need to be, right? And so I appreciate you for that, and I'm so grateful to be here, sitting here with Sweet Tea Ethics, man, and can't wait to chop it up and have the people share and learn some more about you.
Yes, and I couldn't think of another brother to intro me, but my play cousin, probably real cousin.
So, you know, it's interesting, Ed. When I first met you, there's a picture. We'll make sure in some way people get to see that picture. Yes, but Sweet Tea, there's several things I remember about you. One is Sweet Tea, of course. 2 was chicken wings.
Yes.
3 was your grandmother.
Oh yeah.
I would love for you to talk a little bit about that, because there's this connection, these things like that kind of stem from your grandmother, but all of these things. Can you talk a little bit about that connection?
Yeah, so I am the founder From Afros to Shell Toes. That's really became my claim to fame. And Sweet Tea Ethics became one of our most successful programs. So I think people identify me with Sweet Tea Ethics more it from afros to shell toes because it has sweet tea in it. I mean, I think I told you one of my students that I taught when I was a tenure track professor in psychology, I thought he was playing. He was like, when you Google your name, Dr. Garnes, the two associated words that are the highest is chicken wings and sweet tea. Okay, I'm just talking about that every interview. But it's not just the chicken wings and sweet tea, like, black people and chicken, but it has larger implications because I realized my grandmother, the first thing that she taught me how to cook was chicken wings. And she would brew her sweet tea. I can't say the brand unless I get a
Right.
sponsorship, right? But she would brew her tea, and like most Southern grandmothers, she dispensed wisdom. But her education and training for me was in the kitchen. So the sweet tea ethics is really the core and heartbeat of what I do with From Afros to Shelters. If you want to know what is my thing, what do I bring to the table as an educator, what do I bring to the table as a therapist, it's the sweet tea ethics. It's the down home mix of my grandmother's lesson with this white bread education from all these scholarships. So they come together to form a weirdo who can flow in academic halls, but also got barbershop props. So the sweet tea and chicken wings is really honoring my grandmother and her legacy. And so her sayings just come through me. I'm known for the wild sayings.
Yeah.
I told her I was calling my thing from Afro to Shell Toes and Sweet Tea. She said, "Oh yeah, baby, damn. I mean, that's what you do. I mean, that's you." So she snapped it before she passed. It hadn't really blown up. Right after she passed, Dr. Cordell West and his brother Cliff West gave it a stamp of approval, which really took it into the stratosphere. But that's what it's about, that down home wisdom. So like my grandmother had sayings like, if somebody is hurt or you need to get the family and you can't go, then you send go. That means you send a representative, right?
Yes.
She would say things like dress up your head and your ass later. So these philosophies in the counseling world are called adaptive strategies. So these adaptive strategies for my grandmother, all of my training in Black psychology from my mentor, the late Dr. Joseph White, form the philosophical basis for what is known as sweet tea ethics.
So many questions. So
yeah. Well, I sipped this tea.
While you sip that tea,
wine glass. I only did this with J. Ray. I had to come
sweet tea in the wine glass.
This brother got stamped. I'm just starting this podcast. He already got Grammys. Okay,
not there yet. We getting close. But so when I was thinking about, there was a point, and I was probably in my 30s when all of these lessons that I had been taught from the city that I live in, all of my family, aunts, uncles, grandparents, my parents, right? It became really clear to me how those impacted how I've moved through the world.
Yeah.
For you, when did it become clear that you were walking in those footsteps, or that those lessons begin to all come together and make sense for you? When was that?
When I went to college, I had people my age, but I had mentors that was like, yo, what you bringing? Let me come mold you. I don't care if I go to Kroger, if I go to any grocery store, like elders talk to me. Like even my elder patients, like they feel like I'm their grandson. So I've always had this thing where I had the hip hop heads on my side, people my age, and the elders was like, come on, let me learn you something. Let me take you under my wing. So when I got to college, I'm in a predominantly white space for the first time, and I started to have these identity conflicts. So here I'm coming, Georgia boy, civil rights training. A lot of these black folks went to private school. I'm talking about James Baldwin, County Cullen, Bayard Rustin, right? Nobody knows what the hell I'm talking about, but all my mentors and professors did. So, I mean, what does it say when a civil rights leader becomes your mentor and professor? Dr. John Dittmer, critical white brother in the civil rights movement, taught at Tougaloo, okay? was rolling with King, Julian Bond, all of them. When a brother like that says, "Man, you got it. Let me kind of dust off
Yeah.
the edges," you got something. When the president of your university, Doctor Robert Bottom, progressive white brother, took me under his wing. So just imagine 18-year-old, rough around the edges me, was picked to sit at the president's table so I could be a nice little good boy and make the university look good. So Ronnie Jordan, God bless his soul. And I mean, he loved me challenging him as the years went on. Like, I reminded him of that and he remembered. But I'm at the table, I'm hearing Vernon Jordan talk. Well, I serve on this board. And, I'm Elijah J. Clinton. And we were playing ping pong. And I was like, okay, but this ain't the Vernon Jordan from the Urban League. My dad talks about this thing.
Right.
I'm like a different dude. So he's going on and on. And so I said, it's so good to be, here at the table with you and Dr. Bottoms, President Bottoms, and and the family, and good to finally meet you. But the black folks got concerns. Okay, we got this rundown house with like Harriet Tubman. We need money for programs. Like, how can your influence help us here? I mean, that's cool. I love Clinton. I said, but we need some help now.
Right.
So just imagine 18 years old. Everybody's face is turning red because I'm supposed to be the good little boy from Atlanta. I'm supposed to be his welcome committee.
Yeah.
And I challenged him.
Yes.
And I remember Mrs. Bottoms, Dr. Bottoms' wife, was like, "Young man, what is your name?" And that incident is how I got cool with Dr. Robert Bottoms, who at the time was the president of DePaul. And so that's how I knew, okay, this is something different. I mean, I'm challenging the system in a certain way. I have a certain level of maturity, but this ain't normal. Like, I realized, okay, what I got might be special. And so I had people that molded me. And to show you how the universe works from a Black spiritual and psychological standpoint, the president of DePaul University is Dr. White, who I met at DePaul, who taught me everything, is his daughter.
Wow.
So think about how
full
they
circle.
come full circle.
Wow.
Almost 20 years later. So that's when I knew, man, undergrad.
I want to go back, Ed, to before college. Talk to me a little bit about how you came to your allyship. So one of the things I love about you, Dr. Ed Garnes is an ally. Like I said, Ed loves Black folks and he is an absolute ally to all intersections, but in particular, your allyship with the LGBTQ community has been so inspirational. And so let's rewind a bit. How did you come to your allyship?
So once again, education. So my mother is a librarian, master's library of science. My dad, psychology, Black folks, jazz. So I'm growing up in the culture. So my mom gives me this brother. She's like, "Oh, you want to be a revolutionary? Here's Malcolm X." And she gave me this brother named James Baldwin.
Yeah.
She gave me this sister named Zora Neale Hurston.
Yeah.
She gave me County Cup. She gave me these writers, right? And so I'm reading these writers. I mean, James Baldwin, probably the most manly Black man I know.
Yep.
Okay? So I'm growing up at, 9, 10, because I started early. I'm like, I love these people.
Yeah.
Then my mother tells me, well, by the way, James Baldwin was a gay brother. Zora Neale Hurston, she was all over the place. So she dabbled in all kinds of relationships with people. And so I'm like, okay. But see, I already had a fondness for these people. And so when my mother introduced identity to them, she didn't do it like that was a bad thing. She was just letting me know they came with some extra as well. So their extraordinary power was the fact that they also had an identity that was criticized. So my mother didn't say, "Hey, you need to study Rustin, the gay brother who does the March on Washington." She didn't say that. But as I discovered him, she did not hide that.
Yeah.
So the fact that she didn't lead with the fact, or my dad didn't lead, that the fact that these people were deficient because of their identity, I never saw being
Mm.
anything other than heterosexual as a bad thing.
Mm.
Also, the greatest example I have to show you how young I was introduced to ball, when my mother had a friend named David Searcy. David Searcy, I think he got his library science degree from the AUC. I think he went to Morris Brown undergrad. David Searcy was balling. I mean, he could talk. He'd have him a little something to drink, but he might get caught in Macy's wearing hot pants. Okay.
Right.
but but I thought this man was James Baldwin. So when he would come over to the house, I'm hanging on his every word.
Right.
I'm not thinking, oh, David's gay. I'm like, that's James Baldwin. So for 2 years of my young life, I thought David Searcy was James Baldwin, and that was my hero. So
Mm.
that was my introduction. So it wasn't introduced as anything is wrong with it. Yes, these people are different, but discovering them on my own, learning about them, I think before I even knew what their identity was as a young person, I think that helped me gain an appreciation for folks' humanity.
Mm.
And in their stories, they getting beat up because they black like me. So
Right.
I can identify with that. We black first.
Yes.
Anything that we throw on top of black is just extra credit for discrimination. But
Yeah.
we black first. And so then it goes to my father, who said, you don't tell people or announce yourself as a leader. Hi, I'm Dr. Ed Garnes. I am the leader of everyone. I love all black people. Your life has to embody that. And so my dad told me, he didn't use the word ally, he used a different word. We say ally now, but he was like, if your life is not marketing certain values, you don't announce that. Your life has to be your marketing campaign, your life's work. My grandma used to always say, if I die, baby, my work will speak for me, Albert. I mean, Albert, my life will speak for me, baby. You ain't got to, when you go up to that funeral, let my life talk.
Mm.
So that's where it comes from.
Man, it's interesting. I consider myself blessed because as a black gay man and as I was growing up, they didn't have the language to tell me that they were being an ally. Like that's just not language that they had. But I felt so protected by the men in my life.
Yeah.
They had to know. Like, it's hilarious now that I'm old. I'm like, I mean, everybody knew, right? But I never felt othered. I never felt belittled. In fact, that's why I go to therapy. I always felt like I was put in too many adult things, right? Because I was trusted to be in those conversations. So it was like the opposite. But the point I'm making is I'm grateful that I had brothers in the 80s when it wasn't cool who didn't pressure me to be somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like so critical. And that's what I love about the conversations that we have, is because you embody the things I saw in my uncles.
And you know what's crazy? You got me backtracking and running through the tapes. Even when I was young, I had a brother I used to play ball with that was gay.
Mm-hmm.
And he had never come out. I didn't know until years later, but he told me that our friendship was very important because I didn't judge him. Did I know? Maybe I did. But I don't have no gaydar. People have told me my gaydar is off. I just love everybody. So it ain't like I'm looking, okay, let me see. You got on a pink shirt. Like the hand is gay.
Now, in the 80s and the 90s, that would have been like gay. You'd be like, black men look good in pink.
And if you want to be fancy, it's salmon.
That's right.
So when I go back, it probably was ingrained to me very young. I have several, I don't even know if we had the language coming out experiences, but both sides of the aisle, sisters and brothers that like the cuddle outside of the lines of their identity always felt comfortable showing those sides to me. Because I had a very close friend. No one knew that
Mm-hmm.
she was a lesbian, and she was, she didn't fit the bill.
Mm-hmm.
She was like a young Dr. Dandruff to me. Okay.
Yeah.
And so she didn't fit the bill at that time in the early 90s of what people would expect. One of my closest friends in college, trusted me in that way. So I've
Mm.
always had this thing where whatever your identity is, rich, poor, however you identify, people feel comfortable sharing their stories or leaning into me a certain way.
Mm.
And so I think I've always had a responsibility to be protective of that for people.
Mm. You have said this word several times, and this is a
Mm,
very important word:
mm.
identity.
Yeah.
Because one of the things, oh, this was so illuminating. So one of the things that Dr. Garnes has said is it's important that we have identity congruence.
Yes.
I love talking about identity congruence
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it, let me tell you something, Ed, I promise you, and I saw
Mhm.
this in Atlanta.
Yeah.
The moment that I would always separate my identities, right? I'm going to be like gay over here, and I'm going to
Mhm.
be like a corporate guy over here, and I'm going to be like an artist over here, and all of these things, right? The moment I brought those things together and be like, okay, look, listen,
Mhm.
it's still all me. So you're just going to get it all. It changed the way I moved through the world.
Yeah.
And it was so much easier because I felt lighter
Mhm.
because I finally had identity congruence. The
Yes.
person who I was on the inside, I was being all the time on the outside. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of that for Black folks?
When I met Dr. White, he was like, Brother Gone, I saw you having an identity conflict. That's what's wrong with you, brother. You in a space, you're a Southern Black man, you're out here with these people that don't know they Black. Then the professors don't know how to take it because you got a lot of confidence for your age, so they think you're talking out of turn. And he's like, you have an identity. I said identity. He said identity can ruin Dr. Gone. I mean, well, he didn't say Dr. Gone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to saying my own name now.
Right.
It has a great ring. I almost
It
lost my
does have a
life.
great ring.
I almost lost my life 5 times to get it. So I just got to say Dr. Gone. When he was like, Brother Gons, he was like, I'm gonna give you my book. I want you to read this chapter on identity congruence, Brother Gons, and keep the faith. So I read this
Mm.
chapter on identity congruence, and what it talked about is Dr. White and other scholars when they were building the basis of what Black psychology was. So Dr. White at an APA meeting stood up on the table and told APA, y'all MFers not listening, we about to start our own thing. And that own thing was Black psychology. So one of the undergirding principles is this a principle of identity congruence. So you look at scholars like Franz Fanon, a
Mhm.
Baldwin,
Mhm.
a Ralph Ellison, a
Mhm.
Zora Neale Hurston, right? What you see is these essential questions that Fanon and other people ask about identity, especially Black identity. Who am I?
Mhm.
Whose am I? Do I show up as myself in real time?
Mm.
Many people in the therapy room cannot answer those questions as Black people. Most people get stuck at the first one. Who am I? So when you think about our identity as Black people traversing a world that forecasts our demise, we already off psychological balance. And
Mhm.
so our whole life, we are trying to get to a level of identity congruence where we know who we are, whose we are. We show up as ourselves in real time. And it is very hard to practice in America because we've been taught, and history has taught us to do this, to code switch. We got
Mhm.
to do one way.
Oh, and we prize it too. Oh,
Yeah.
they be cold. Black folks, we so good at code switching.
But you know what? I've never been good at it. I've never
Mm.
been a great brown noser, and I've never been good at code switching, which is why I always get hit by system smacked
Right.
around because my butt cheeks are loose. I'm not
Right.
trying,
The system, he like, listen,
locked up.
I
Oh, what?
can't do what they
I
need me to
can't
do.
do it. Now I can look the part,
Right.
I can look the part because my students know this is the Dr. Garner's look. Okay, I'm gonna have on a sweater vest,
Yes.
business shirt under it, khakis, some Cole Haans, and if it's Friday, some Jordans. That's my
Right.
look. And then when it gets cold, I'm gonna change the sweater vest to a jacket with no tie, so I can
Right.
look the part. But when I open my mouth, you know I'm a field nigga. So identity congruence is something that we have to do. So just imagine you're a smart black child, but you come from a socio-economic background where you're not supposed to be smart. You don't have identity congruence. You're a gay black man or a gay woman in corporate America, or you are a gay woman that does not present, but you're archly feminine. So people are shocked because they expect you to be, I don't know, even know what the terms are. Do we still say stud?
We still stay stud, yes.
Okay, because it's ever evolving. Like
yes, yes.
I taught multicultural psych, and we would have to take notes every semester on the new words to add to the syllabus. Okay, so it's ever evolving language. So when you look at that, that's an identity issue. Even when you look at athletes, so identity congruence is not just specific to black people, it's a psychological term, but I put it in black terms. But even athletes suffer from something called identity foreclosure. What is that? So identity foreclosure is where you forsake other identities for this one identity that you feel is going to give you the praise. So if I'm an athlete, then I only have this athletic identity. So I foreclose, and society forecloses other identities in which I can partake in, similar to what black people did.
Wow. And it makes perfect sense because you know what? I will say that at one point in my life, I think I did a version of that, especially when I was like working in corporate America, like everything became about like that. And that makes perfect sense. And we do that. We take on, this is the main thing. This is who we are because this is the thing that's going to get us to the thing that society says that we should be. So go forth and do that. Let me tell y'all something. And what I found, Ed, is, oh Lord, that ain't it.
It's a testimony. When you start thinking about when you develop identity congruence, it's like a church sermon. You know? It's a testimony.
So for you, to that point, right, of when you read this chapter in Dr. White's book, when did you start to really feel like, oh, here is how I be fully Dr. Ed Garnes?
So this is what happened. So not only did he give me the book, he gave me some young cats that I didn't know was changing the game of black psychology. If you are studying imposter syndrome, you're gonna find Dr. Kevin Copeland. Yeah. He's at the University of Michigan now, left Texas, and now is has some prestigious professorship at the University of Michigan. So Dr. Kevin Coakley and Dr. Adesai Ajumu was two of the first young black psychologists I met. So not only did he say read the chapter, he gave me models of what identity congruence looks like in real time.
Yeah.
And especially Dr. Ajumu, aka Adesai, in my life, will tell you I was one of the most rough around the edges young black scholars you can see. Okay? I did not know it was sweet tea ethics and from Africa. I mean, I was rough. I had it, but I mean, they took this clay and molded me. You know what I'm saying? So by him serving as a mentor for me, and then giving me young brothers closer to my age as well, I had a mirror of I can be Dr. Coakley, I can be Dr. Ajumu. You know what I'm saying? It was life changing. And then he planned out the next 5 years of my life. These are the schools you're gonna apply to. You think what you're doing is activism? That's called counseling psychology. We're gonna get you a master's first because you never took any classes in psych. You're gonna study under me for a year. We're gonna do some consulting work, build up your profile. So when I applied a year later for grad school, even though I had never taken a class, I had so much work I had done with Dr. White and then in presentations with black psychology that it was my practical experience that got me into school. I never took psychology undergrad. I met Dr. White when I was a graduate assistant and stayed at DePaul for an extra year.
Yo, interesting question. I don't know that I've ever asked you this question.
Woo, let me drink. Let me get a sip.
Right. What did you think your path was going to be?
So I had hoop dreams.
Oh, really? So you okay?
So I had hoop dreams and engineering dreams. So I was a great basketball player at a young age. So I started getting college letters at 12 or 13 because they was like, who is this midget scoring 25 points and shooting threes in this tournament? So I mean, I basically started any team I played all the way up to high school. It's like my second year of high school when I did make varsity and I saw, okay, I have coaches that are judging me for something I cannot control. I think that's another thing that opens me up to people's humanity because of the discrimination that I have experienced in my life. So imagine me as a young person, college letters, but I can't make varsity. I've started my whole career. When I started high school, I was probably 5'1" my first year of high school. So I must be good at this thing, but I was prevented from realizing my full potential. So I wanted to play basketball and I wanted to be an engineer. I wanted to be an engineer because I had a cousin that was an engineer. So from third grade on, I wanted to own my own engineering firm. And I used to tell coaches when they would talk to my dad at tournaments, I don't need an athletic scholarship. So I'll be on the team. I can get an academic scholarship. I will save you a scholarship. That used to be my pitch.
Right.
I save you a scholarship. I got the grades. So I wanted to play ball in engineering. I remember in sixth grade, I did a presentation. I went over to Herman J. Russell, the black construction firm, engineering firm here in Atlanta. They built the Collier Heights area. They were the Atlanta airport. Marvin Heritage Jr. brought them in to building the airport because he had to have black contractors. So Herman J. Russell let me interview his engineers. So I did this engineering project. So I studied science and engineering every summer in summer programs. I would skip basketball camp my last couple of years in high school to go to these science-based camps. So my whole thing was engineering and science. I got into Georgia Tech. A lot of people don't know that. I got into Georgia Tech, USC, the top 20. I got into 25 schools. Most of the schools in the top 10 or top 15 for engineering, I got in those schools. So my original claim to fame, I wanted to play ball and I wanted to be an engineer. And I know your next question, how do you end up where you are?
I do. That is my next question.
Okay, go ahead.
But before I ask that question, you know what? Let me ask that question first and then we're going to backtrack because the other question I'm going to ask you is going to get deeper into a question I have. So how did you go? So you get to undergrad. You're like, this going to be what I'm going to do.
I'm engineer, bro.
And what happened?
So I'm coming from Georgia, never been around. I had only one or two white teachers in my whole high school experience.
Right. I mean, you from Atlanta.
Hey, I went to Frederick Douglass High School.
Right.
Without struggle, there's no progress. Okay, like I'm black as hell. Okay?
Right.
So I'm in this space and this identity conflict is hitting me that I didn't know until 4 years later. I was having an identity crisis. So I was in this advanced calculus classes. I had tested into these high classes. So I'm taking physics. I'm taking calculus. We were in physics class. I'm having the stress of being in this environment and nothing was feeding. How do I deal as a black person in this space? And we started rotating figures on axes that could never happen in real time. We were just doing this in calculus as like a hypothesis. And so I raised my hand and I said, so we could never do this in real life. We're just kind of practicing. I was like, okay, this ain't gonna help me. Right. Then I was in physics class and I was like, what does the theory of relativity have to do with these white folks on my back? And the passion for it just seeped out of me. I changed my major so many times that D. Gardner and all the academic advisors said, you can no longer change your major. Don't come to our office unless you have something you are going to stay with. You are taking too many classes, okay? And you don't have a major yet. So
Right.
that's what happened. Those racialized experiences in that white space did nothing to develop my coping strategies on how am I as a black man going to make it. But what did provide that for me was the English department. They wanted me so bad to change my major. They was like, nobody knows that you want to do engineering. People think that you're a communications or English major. Come over here. So I was like, okay, I must have something. The communications department was like running. I had a
Mm-hmm.
television show, radio show. I was the only student all 4 years that was on the department's interview committee for new professors. That's a nice position for somebody 18 to 22.
Right.
And so all of those things allowed me to raise my voice and speak truth to power. So I could talk about things on my television show. I could talk about things on my radio show. I could write myself to freedom. Now, it got me in a lot of trouble writing
Right. Right.
myself
Right. 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 Right.
because everybody was like, okay, this boy is too good. Let's block this boy. But
Mm-hmm.
those majors gave
Mm.
me something to deal with the lack of identity congruence that I was suffering through. So I ended up changing my major. Now listen to this. I still took too many classes. My undergraduate degree is in English writing, and I have
Yes.
two. I have two minors, mass comm and Black studies. Now, did I take a lot of classes? Now, and look, I was one class away from a math minor. That's how many classes I was taking.
My God.
So
Wow.
that's how I changed, man. Engineering didn't speak to the identity conflicts I was having.
Mhm.
You can't theory or relativity your way out of racism. You can't
Yeah.
determine the calculus of how I'm gonna not smack somebody tomorrow because you know what I'm saying. So I need something to help me, but not lose my damn mind.
Mm. You know what this is bringing up for me? So interesting story because you don't know this. When I went to college, I was convinced I was going to be an accountant. I was convinced I was going to be an accountant because my uncle was an accountant, and I wanted to be like my uncle. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm going to college. I was only the second person to go to college. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying, in my immediate family, right? So I get to college and I have my first difficulty in a class because I never had challenges in classes before. And that dinged me. And then I got an internship as an accountant and quickly
Uh-huh.
figured out that I hate this. Like, hate. I was good at it. I was good at it because I be good at stuff.
Yeah, we
But
know.
but when it came time and when it ended, they wanted to offer me a job. And I was like, no, because I'm going back to change my major like immediately. I'm
Really?
leaving here and I'm going back. And I literally went into the advisor's office and sat down and was like, well, I can't do that. So let's do something else. And just that idea. So I definitely understand being in college, being in these spaces. You end up in a space and you like, this ain't it. This is not it.
And I remember Dr. Violence, my white brother president, he was
Mhm.
like, you want to be an engineer? I feel like he was like, I thought you were English and communications. He was like, what?
Yeah.
So everybody would say that. So I took a survey. I asked professors that, even though I had a lot of strife at the fall, I had a lot of support, man. I
Yeah.
had actually more support from white students and some of my white professors than I mean the numbers are off. There wasn't a lot of black professors. I had black support from the professors
Mhm.
as far as students. You would be surprised that this revolution their boy from Georgia had a lot of support.
Mhm.
So, but it wasn't helping me that I wasn't in a major to express myself. So I was like, I must be good if white men and other people in the English department are like, come over here. They see something. And I had a white
Mhm.
professor that gave me Etheridge Knight. That was I think it was Sonia Sanchez. Ooh, I'm off today. Blame my
Mhm.
client, but he was
Yeah.
married to one of the soul sisters of the arts, the Black arts movement. And I should know this.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna smack me for if I messed it up. But they saw something in me, man. And so I had to make a change. And I thought I was gonna be slick. I hope D Garvin can hear this. So I go to I go to to the office and still try to put math as my major. They were like, "Oh, Dean Gardner has already told us if you come here with that BS, that we can have this continent until you check
Sit them out.
yourself." So I didn't have a choice because Dean Gardner, who ended up, man, she was probably a dean by the time I graduated. You know, she was
Mm-hmm.
director of multicultural affairs, kept up in the ladder. She was always put. I stayed in trouble with her. She was like, "I heard you still dancing on tables. Didn't we tell you? I heard you took off your clothes at the AKA party. You can't do that, man."
We all have a journey. I love it.
So that's the story that a lot of people don't know, because unless you went to high school with me, unless you like my friends Chris, Damien, and people from Douglas that knew I was in the engineering magnet program at the illustrious Frederick Douglass High School, you wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
know that side of me.
Wow. That's fascinating. Thank you for being willing to share this with your audience. See, y'all getting to know the brother that's
See,
gonna
this
be
one
giving y'all the sweet
happened.
tea ethics.
I can tell you this: I can't have sweet tea in a wine glass because I'm a straight
You
clown.
say you fancy now. You
I'm
like, listen.
healthy.
So I have two more questions I really wanna ask you about. And it's going back in time because so many of our folks have hoop dreams too.
Mm, mm, mm.
And I have seen it
Yeah.
elevate some folks and destroy others, right?
Yeah.
Um talk to us. I don't know if you have any thoughts about this, but the psychological impact of that kind of pressure
Oh, you mean to make it in
to
hoops?
make
Like,
it like,
yeah.
yeah, to make
So
it.
so you got to think about this to show you the level of competitiveness of the players that I grew up with. One of my friends that I was on that starting freshman team with, he's a college coach. Most of the people that I played with are either college coaches or went professional.
Mhm.
So I mean, that tells you what we were
Yeah.
doing at an age. If it's all of us are ended up being coaches, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
coach. So it was a lot of pressure. But when I look back on it, because the first game that my dad gave me was basketball, it really was about me wanting to be my dad.
Mm.
So even though I'm thinking it's the pressure of black men got to play ball, my dad always emphasized education, but I think I wanted to be like my dad, and I know that was our first intro was basketball to show you how deep it is for me and my dad in basketball. So in the city of East Point, it's a day named after my dad. So my son Lil E won a championship on the same court that my dad coached in, and it is one of the reasons that he has a day named after him. So that's how important like basketball runs through our family. And to show you I still got it, I came out the parking lot to see Lil E's game. They pushed
Mm-hmm.
me on the court in the shooting competition. When you win a shooting competition at 47, you must can play. Okay. But yes, it was a lot of pressure because of the environment. Like, I mean, we played competitive basketball probably from the time we were 5 or 6 years old to early adulthood. So it
Yeah.
is a lot of pressure because I saw the pressure from my friends that did not have my grades. So some of my friends, they had to ball out. Their parent,
Mm.
I had a two-parent household where I didn't miss meals. They had
Right.
to ball out. They didn't have what I had.
Right.
I had a good friend who I consider my brother. And I remember when the varsity coach he just didn't like me. When a drug dealer that can't play make the team over you, it's politics. Okay, I can say that now. I didn't have the strength to say that then. But when a
Right.
drug dealer makes it over you, you can't
Yeah.
really play. I mean, come on, y'all.
Yeah.
So it's just that, seeing that pressure, I was like, I have to also get the books. So even though I had these hoop dreams, when I saw that it wasn't gonna work because of the coaches not really feeling me. I had to lean into my academics, but I always knew the game. So I said, I'm a coach. So I became a coach. But it is a lot of pressure. And I think it's the identity foreclosure piece. In the
Mhm.
hood, what did Biggie say? You either sling and crack walk or you got a wicked jump shot.
Yep.
Without my daddy telling me, you ain't going to practice until you do these book reports and do this math and do these grades, I would not know that there were options. So I credit my father for giving me the balance that you could be a hooper and still get your books. He gave me Bill Russell, Muhammad Ali. He
Mhm.
gave me Kurt Flood, the guy who started free agency in baseball and led up to other sports. So he gave me all these examples. You can be an athlete, but you're gonna be this kind of athlete. But
Mm.
when I think about it, Jay Ray, and I've never said this, basketball is my first connection to my father. So it's my first love because it's the first thing that we did together. So I
Mm.
had to go deep in my psychological archive. Why is the only thing sometimes pull me out of funk is basketball, coaching little ER, training
Mhm.
another young person. I was my happiest when I was a coach at a high school. This probably the best 2 years of my life.
Mm.
But it's because it is my connection to my father, and that's what runs through us as part of our relationship with sport.
Hmm. It's interesting. I have these moments that I realize the impact that my dad had on me, and I'm grateful for the relationship that my dad and I had. And I'm glad I got to spend the time that I got to spend with him, during his transition. But it's funny that you mentioned, so basketball was your thing with you and your dad. I realized I was watching some random horror movie very recently, and my dad always comes up. It's like he's sitting in the room
Mhm,
because the
mhm,
thing that he loved to do, and that it was one of the things we could do together. My dad was very into basketball, very into football. I
mhm,
wasn't into those
mhm.
things, so he didn't do those things with me. It was fine. But what we would do is we would watch horror movies together.
Okay, okay, okay.
So,
Okay, okay.
and oftentimes I think about him as I kind of take in a horror flick. It does remind me of my
Yeah.
dad,
It,
man.
it probably it probably gives you that good feeling. You can't
Hmm.
describe it. You couldn't put it into words, but you feel better
Yeah.
when you watch horror movies.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 man.
The hardest time for me is the playoffs of the NBA.
Mm.
I remember one time I was sitting, I was crying, and I was like, "What am I crying about?" And I was like, "Oh, it's something about the play." Then it kept happening like 2 years, and I said, "Dang, it's something about this playoffs." So my therapist was like, "The playoffs remind you of your dad because you can't pick up the phone and argue." My dad didn't like LeBron. We argued over LeBron all the time. Oh, he didn't like LeBron. But look, my dad didn't want to admit this. He ain't like Jordan when he first came out.
Right.
My dad is like, if you're a little too flashy,
Oh, he didn't want all that.
play
He
the
was a
play the
Julius
right
Irving
way.
kind of guy. He was
I
like,
remember I did a behind the back pass and I almost peed on myself because my dad was standing up.
look
My
at you, mad. Like, look at you being out there all flashy.
like, don't do all that flash. Don't do that. So yeah, so that's the connection, man. I think with sports, man. But the pressure is where I can tell you from working with professional athletes, and especially most of the athletes I work with are black men. Even though I work with a lot of black women, track,
Mhm.
basketball, and other sports too. For black men, their identity foreclosure piece, where they feel this is the only role and space they can occupy, is real. So I've helped a lot of brothers that have gone on to the pros from counseling them, mentoring them, and it's a lot of pressure. Like the biggest pressure that the professional athletes that are black men, whatever sport, football or basketball, that I deal with as clients now, is they don't know how to be black as an athlete right now. Okay,
Mm.
if I speak out, I don't have no endorsements. If I speak too much, the GM is gonna trade me. So they don't know how to be black. So they have no identity congruence because they're worried about being traded, losing endorsements, not signing long-term contracts. Perfect example, Kyrie Irving.
Wow, you are
Perfect,
absolutely
perfect example. How does Jalen Brown win MVP of the finals and he's left off of the Olympic team?
yeah.
Jalen Brown is outspoken, went to Cal Berkeley, lectured at MIT. He has an identity that we're not used to. Athletes shut up, shoot the ball. So anything that is out of this, that's outside that identity, people can't understand.
Man, that's so deep. And you are absolutely right, especially when you put it in that context. I'm about to veer off into something because you this just actually came up
Let me
for
get some
me.
of my sweet tea in the
You
wine glass.
have at it. Um, I realize that in particular for black men,
Mhm.
sports are like a bonding ritual because we can't show intimacy in any other way. The one way we can is through like sports conversation, sports activities, sports da 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 da. It's kind of the one safe place that black men have to be together that is not questioned, right? And that's wild to me.
Yeah, guess where my safe space was in graduate school was the athletics department. Everything that I brought to the table, the athletics department wanted. So every school that I have worked at, I have worked in some capacity with the athletics department. Number one, the system is comfortable, but I got this sweet tea ethics thing that everybody doesn't have. I remember one of the track coaches was like, "Who is the person that all the track guys are going to? What is he
I
doing?"
need to talk to right. They all of a sudden congruent.
I'm man is coming in to practice early. He ain't broke curfew on the road trip. They like, what is he doing? The only thing that I do for brothers and what you picked up on earlier, I create spaces for humanity to flourish. And black men, no matter how they identify, because I've had some closeted athletes. So don't think
Yeah.
y'all think that gay brothers and people ain't in it. Yeah, they there. They,
We
they,
know they there. The
they
people
there.
just heads in the sand.
But you know what black men need is a place to be vulnerable
Yes.
and a space to explore failure without critique. So you can come to me, discuss failure. Because a lot of times in the black community, we only want to have successful conversations. We don't leave space for if I am failing, if I am struggling. Can I have a conversation with you? Or do I have to be a talented TIFF Negro to get any help in my life? So those young brothers that I work with, pro or college, they just looking for a space. And then
Mhm.
I'm gonna break down this notion. Most of the brothers did not come from single parent households like we tend
Right.
to believe. Most of the brothers are not all from low socioeconomic background. It all the privileged athletes, the people that are considered underprivileged in our world, they all have that same issue. How do I develop identity congruence as a black man, especially when I am not rising to the occasion in other people's eyes?
Mm. All right. My last question, Ed. It's my
Oh,
last. You might need the rest of that sweet tea for
okay.
this.
You gonna get us with okay, go.
Um, maybe it's just today. There are 7 principles of black psychology, right? 7. It's right. It's
Mm-hmm.
7, right?
Yeah, because you
Okay.
know I always stop at 5 because I
Right, right,
can't
right, right,
go to
right.
sleep.
I'm not
Okay.
gonna have you. I'm not gonna have you do them because you know the show. Y'all will get the 7 principles of black psychology as y'all listen to Sweet Tea Ethics, which I know you will. My question is there for Dr. Ed Garnes, for
Mhm.
you personally, is
Yes.
there one of those principles that is the most important principle for you?
Yes. Improvisation.
Mm-hmm.
Making a way out of no way. I have always had to piecemeal my freedom and piecemeal fragments of my black masculinity in this empire of the United States. If I didn't learn how to make a way out of no way, what does that mean? In graduate school, when I'm about to defend my dissertation, they say you no longer have financial aid and they try to cancel all your classes and you got to defend your dissertation. You got to make
Mm.
a way out of no way. When you are in a predominantly white space and people are sending you death threats, which is how I got to counseling and
Mm-hmm.
became a counselor, the death threats, you gotta improv. When your lights about to get turned off and you gotta talk to Georgia Power, you're gonna need a compelling story to keep them lights on. That is improvisation. So my ability from my parents, grandparents, and from life to find a way out of no way, to color outside of the lines. I'm really, and I think this is why me and Cliff West and his brother Cornel West get along. I'm really a jazz artist. I swing from opportunity. I swing from thing to thing. I swing improv all the way. I don't have to improv my entire life to make it. So improvisation would be one of those things, the top skill of black psychology that I have. And then it's the top skill I try to give my clients as a therapist, because I think about Robin D.G. Kelly, about the black radical imagination. That's all improvisation. I give people their black radical imagination. So it's all improvisation.
Dr. Ed Garnes, thank you for letting me come on over to Sweet Tea Ethics and ask you some questions, brother.
Yes, I mean, I think we needed to intro the concept, because what I realized, like, on paper, people think I'm one way. Like, on paper, they're like, "Oh God, I don't want that stuck up boy at my school." But then when they
Right.
see how I finesse these two masters, PhD, with some concrete common sense, and they be like, "Oh, I got to have some of this." So
Yes.
I couldn't think of nobody else to do this with. So I got one question for you before we get up
Sure.
out of it. Because one of the things that, we're going to bring the jazz to Sweet Tea Ethics.
Yes.
I will say, first, I want to mention who my jazz meditation of the day is. So
Please.
we're going to go with my dad. We're going to go West Montgomery, California Dreaming. So use that as your jazz meditation for the day. But we're also going to bring this to the table, because J. Ray got cue points.
Yes.
If you never listen to cue points and see J. Ray hands like Lil E talks about,
yes, and I think I've been mostly in there, mostly.
I think it was the sweet tea in the wine glass. You didn't have J. Ray hands.
See, listen, I've actually been holding. So listen, they're in my lap, and I'm like,
you didn't have J. Ray hands. So I'm gonna flip it to you, because one of the things we're gonna get to the heart of things. That's really what Sweet Tea Ethics is all about. So give me some artists, because songs would probably be too hard for you, because you are cue point certified.
Yeah.
So if you was to think about, because now J. Ray, they also doing this Pandora thing where they be doing when they do playlists, not just cue points. Not cue points got Pandora.
Yes.
So if you were to make a healing playlist, what artists would be on there? Now you can mention some songs, but I definitely want to hear the artists, because songs kind of gets hard. Yeah. So thematically, what kind of artists would you have on your healing playlist?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, so this is kind of top of mind, because I recently made a healing playlist for a brother who has been experiencing some medical challenges. We're still finessing it, but I'm gonna tell you what was on it. So when I think about healing, I think about it in a kind of a diverse way. I think about it from a meditative perspective, but I also think of it from a joyous perspective. So I think of songs that can bring joy. So I will name a couple of songs, actually. So Another Star by Stevie Wonder. Is you might be. Listen, that song is so freeing. And I love thinking about that from a healing playlist perspective. I love Supreme by John Coltrane. Definitely is something that goes in the healing playlist. Dreadlock by Michel Ndegeocello is a song. Yeah. From just a black perspective, right? Like us being grounded. I think of that. And one more, and I didn't put this one on the playlist, but Shaka Khan's Everywhere is
Okay.
a beautiful song.
Okay.
And I also think of that from like a healing perspective. So healing to me has like all of these different kind of intersections. And those are a few that I would put on a healing playlist.
See, y'all, y'all got to listen to Q Point.
Yeah.
Because one thing about Johnny, he gonna pull out a reference. Did you know that Luther Vandross was
Right.
the artist he sponsored by Icy? Did you know? You know, he's saying Icy's after his like.
Right.
Go with the facts. You know what I'm
There are some wild facts. I do have, and probably for each of those artists, I have a interesting fact for those people that I've mentioned.
But no, I mean this was good, man. You know, we wanted to show you all, and I have to thank Q Points and your podcast because you all was the first thing that I did when I came back to Atlanta after my Cal Berkeley training year for my doctorate. Y'all was the first interview I did, and that kind of set the tone for the introduction to the Dr. Ed Gar's experience, because that's one of my first interviews as a doctor. You and Black Entrepreneur Magazine were the first two people to interview me. And also listen to How the Universe Works. Tomorrow is the year anniversary.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I have been Dr. Ed officially 2 years now.
Wow, man. Well, listen,
you
man,
was so you was the one of the first interviews when I became, and now we're doing this.
Yeah, you're doing your thing. I listen. I'm eternally grateful. Thank you for inviting me over to Sweet Tea Ethics to hang out. And man, I can't wait for the healing that folks will get just kind of listening. Because listen, y'all, I'm telling you, I know about the Black psychological principles. I be living them things every day. So y'all gonna learn about them too.
Yeah, we gonna free some people, but I'm not gonna do the wine. I lit too in it today. I'm gonna have to go back to my other glasses, you know.
Yeah.
my mugs and my, you know. I got a little too frisky tonight.
Right.
What should I say? What was the interview we did? I got a little too sassy.
You got a little too sassy. Dr. Ed Garns, man, thank you, man, for inviting me over here, man. This has been dope.
I got so much love for you, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening as we pour some good old Sweet Tea Ethics. Hope this special brew was healing to your mind, body, and your soul. Subscribe to the show, join our mailing list, and visit sweetteaethics.com. Peace, love, and poppy seed oil to you all.